Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Arm Wrestling tonight. This is Hollywood Matt Connelly, where the double biceps it is in the contract and legal requirement every single time we appear on camera, and we are appearing on camera right this second. The man to my left, but could be to your right, depending on what sort of screen setup you are looking at. It is the co-host, the co-founder, the co-breather of air, the co-wearer of clothes in this very room. It is the master of disaster, the king of sting, the count of Monte Cristo. It is the Siberian bull. It is the Thunderlips, the ultimate male. It is none other than the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year award, the illustrious award held by the illustrious man with the illustrious beard. It is your friend and mine. It is Dave Stockbridge, but I'm getting my own intro in the background. But that's right. Hello, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Hollywood Matt Connelly, for a wonderful introduction as well. Always warm and welcoming to not just me, but to also everybody else who's in the comments section. So we have a very, very special guest with us this evening. This man is the man that's, well, he's jotting in the journals that will only survive to the end of time. He is the man that's making sure that all knowledge pertaining to arm wrestling is being journaled, being recorded, not just for us, but for all future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Arm Historian.
Thanks so much. Hello, guys.
Thank you very much.
Great to be here,
Arm Historian. It's been it's been quite the thrill for us to see you pop up in the comments over recent weeks as we've been rolling out the podcast, and we've been itching to get you onto the podcast because you are one of those fantastic figures that everybody in the sport immediately recognizes, even though nobody seems to have seen your face.
Well, you say nobody, but then again, I think someone on this very podcast has seen my human form.
Oh, there is a human form then.
He had to get it all done before midnight. It was he kept looking at his watch. It was like, oh, I've got another 40 minutes before the skies melts away.
Well, if I go out,
did meet at Arm Gods in Ireland. That's right.
Yep, indeed.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey in arm wrestling. When did you start in the sport, or have you not started in the sport, and do you simply record, journal, and share with the world what has happened and what may be happening in the sport?
Yeah, I do arm wrestle myself. I started arm wrestling first before I started my YouTube channel about arm wrestling, and that must have been about, I think, 3 to 4 years ago now, like 3.5 years, something like that ago, I started arm wrestling. I knew of the sport before. I kind of followed it kind of tangentially online here and there, but never got that deep into it. But then when I started arm wrestling myself, got a little better at it, I decided to, why not make a couple of videos on arm wrestling? That's about how it started. Right now, my level isn't high, my arm wrestling level. I won my first amateur tournament not too long ago, so that's about thank you. That's about where I'm at.
It's not high. You won the bloody tournament. I've won like 2 matches ever at a tournament.
Yeah, maybe your tournaments are a little bigger though.
Well, the thing with the sport in Australia, when you've got a rising sport, the people who are at the top, they're in the tournament too, and you have to, they're the number 1 seed. You're the guy coming in for the first time, so of course you're lined up against Lachlan Adair or something, and you're like,
doesn't last long.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because one of my first tournaments here, Prutnik was actually competing at that tournament. Right now he's living nearby, so yeah, by chance he was there.
Oh, that's great.
So there's plenty of arm wrestling fans out there, and there's plenty of people that are involved in the sport and that are competing as athletes. What made you jump on to YouTube and start putting content out there around arm wrestling?
I think what motivated me first to start was I watched a certain kind of content myself on YouTube, and I noticed that within the arm wrestling content creation scene, that kind of content wasn't really there. So I figured, I know a little bit of editing. I can kind of write here and there, so maybe I should give it a try myself.
So was that kind of content just people with arms extending out of their neck? What kind of?
Yeah, it's
in high demand.
Is that a genre?
Yeah, I just like seeing body parts of people do the talking. That's kind of my my preferred way of watching YouTube. No, I'm talking about kind of a little longer video essays doing deep dives into certain topics. That's kind of what I like to watch myself. So
And what topics have you delved into that have really intrigued you and that inspired you early on, in particular, to start your channel?
Well, kind of essays on people themselves, and sometimes leaning more towards more controversial topics, or I should say, covering everything about the person, not necessarily only the controversial parts, but kind of everything about the person and doing a deep dive on the person itself. Yeah, and it translated pretty well to arm wrestling, I think.
And as you've gone into these deep dives and found out more about the I guess the people behind the public persona, who of the athletes so far has really surprised you?
That's a good question. There's a couple out there. It's not really an athlete necessarily, but Igor Mazurenko, when I did a deep dive on him and the PAL, it kind of surprised me, like his personal background, because there's a lot of things I don't include in my videos that sometimes get a little too personal, or if I notice the athlete doesn't necessarily put it out there that much in public, I tend not to cover it.
Yeah.
And about Igor, there's a couple of things that I kind of found out or read about, like rumors and stuff that I didn't include, but that still surprised me. So, yeah, there's a couple of things like that in some videos.
What a shame that the thing that you found out you're not quite comfortable enough to
Yeah,
share. Well,
it's nothing
we can see
too
a guy that's
controversial,
right now,
but
actually, I think this is what we all feel very uncomfortable about. A baby Igor with a full beard.
yeah, I do include those in most of my rise and fall videos, the baby pictures.
Yeah. Well, what I love about your content is that you do different work to the majority of the arm wrestling community that is out there, as you said, and you're giving a rich history on that person or the event or the promotion or whatever the topic is. You get like it's almost a mini documentary in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and how long? Sorry,
go ahead.
How long does it take you to research one of these videos?
Well, of course, it depends heavily on the topic. There's certain people or topics that information is really readily available online about them. But then there's other people where it's really difficult to find any kind of information about their childhood or their teenage years or coming up in the arm wrestling world. So it kind of depends. Some episodes take me like a week of on and off, kind of looking into them, gathering information, but others take me several weeks. So yeah.
That's incredible. It's an enormous amount of work. Do you ever reach out to the personality or to the individual themselves and try and find out more if you're struggling to get that content from or that information online?
Yeah, sometimes I do. At first I didn't, because it felt to me like certain people that I covered were kind of unreachable, so to speak. They're kind of celebrities, quote unquote, to me. So I kind of thought they would be unreachable. But then as the channel grew a little bit, I got in contact with people and I made some connections. Yeah, and I did reach out. There's been certain athletes that were very receptive to the videos that have reached out to me afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we're very laudatory about it. We're very happy with the videos. And then others who were maybe a little less happy. Yeah.
That was exactly what I was going to ask you. I'm sure that whenever you were covering public figures and perhaps revealing something about their past, you're sure to come across something that they didn't probably want the whole world to know. Have you come across one of those real prickly situations where maybe it's an athlete that you've admired and unbeknownst to yourself, you've kind of revealed something that they didn't quite want out there?
Well, maybe. It's hard to tell, because even if I did that, I'm sure not each and every one of them would contact me about it or say anything publicly about it, as to not draw more attention to it, I'm sure. But yeah, it's difficult because I've gotten to know people in the community. Like, I'll take an example, someone you both know too, Ryan Bowen. I've gotten to know Ryan. I've met him in real life. I made the video on him before that, but yeah, it does add like an extra dimension when I'm making videos now. Like I actually know these people and I've actually conversed with them. Makes it a little more difficult. Yeah, but
I
there's
was
been
gonna
examples like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to ask whether that makes it easier or harder, and it sounds like it does make it a little bit harder the closer you get to the subject.
Yeah, it does. It certainly does.
Was RVJ was he wasn't happy with the tide or the rise and the fall because he was like, I haven't fallen. Like he had an issue with that, didn't he?
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of have this visceral reaction to the title, and in a way it's doing what it's intended to do. It gets people to click on the video and actually talk about it and maybe drop a comment that they otherwise wouldn't have. So it's kind of doing what it's intended to do there. I've had doubts about the title and some regrets that I went with that title. But all in all, I think it worked out fine. There was RVJ. I met him in real life too. He wasn't sober at the time, so I think that worked kind of in my favor. I had a pretty good time with him, and he enjoyed the video, most of it, I think. So, Michael Todd, my very first Rise and Fall video was on Michael Todd, and it seemed like Rebecca and Michael Todd weren't that overly enthused about my portrayal of Michael. Yeah, I think that's about the most negative I've gotten.
And what did they take exception to? Was it your representation of the facts, or was it that some of the facts might have been out there in the first place? Or
I think it was mainly the title. I don't know if they actually watched the episode, but that's the kind of the feeling I get. I know Rebecca Todd left. Someone posted my video on Facebook. It's like a year and a half ago now or something. My video on Michael Todd on Facebook, and Rebecca Todd left a less than flattering comment towards me on that post. So yeah,
wow.
I'm pretty sure they don't really like me that much.
and does it make it easier that maybe not that you have this alter ego where you can almost separate that from you personally, or do you just feel that it is you personally just manifested as this character?
That's a very interesting question. I haven't given it that much thought. When I first
thinking music.
Yeah, thank you. Some countdown music, maybe. When I first made like the quote unquote branding for my channel, and kind of this kind of representation of myself, it was just for that reason. I thought it would be something recognizable, and I don't think my appearance necessarily adds a lot of value to the kind of videos that I make. That doesn't mean I haven't regretted it at some point, just because it would be easier to do lives and stuff. But still, yeah, I think it works for my channel and for the kind of content I make.
So apart from Arm Wrestling Tonight, of course, what other podcasts or creators do you follow to keep up to date with all things going on in the arm wrestling world?
There's a lot of them, of course, and as I've gotten to know the people behind the channels, I've certainly gotten more involved in their content too, or like watched more of their content at least. But my time is pretty limited, so I do have to pick and choose a lot. Apart from you guys' podcast, of course, there's like the mainstay of arm wrestling, The Fix, which I kind of loyally watch because they're in the time slot after my live stream every Sunday. So I kind of watch them as I get ready to go to sleep that night. And then there's a couple of other ones out there. I think Eastside Arm Wrestling is doing a very good job with his channel. I know you guys had him on before.
Greg,
yeah, I think.
Yeah,
exactly. He's a great guy too. I've talked to him behind the scenes. And other than that, it's mostly like mainstream arm wrestling content, if such a thing even exists. It's like the typical lead up to East versus West interviews and stuff like that. Nothing too specific. There's a couple of channels like Lawless Luchadors. This is like a smaller arm wrestling channel who are doing like a very niche specific thing. They're doing their own style, which I very much appreciate. And yeah, there's a couple of others, but not too much. I don't watch any of the typical arm wrestling news channels that are out there. I can't really invest that much time into it.
Just before we came on air, we were talking about the latest thing that's going on with World Series arm wrestling and the like. Do you get too much involved with? Is the day-to-day controversies, or is that something you really get into? Because a lot of people love the gossip and love the controversy almost as much as they love the arm wrestling.
Yeah. And I get it. I think I do to a degree, but only if it's a topic that I personally find important for the sport. So if it's like contract issues, leagues fighting, stuff like that, which I've been kind of picking up on lately. I see it personally as a very negative thing for a sport our size. So I tend to follow a little more on those kinds of things.
And so, how do you see the landscape in arm wrestling right now? Where do you see the sport going? Do you think it's just going to be more of the same moving forward, or do you see things fragmenting further? It seems at the moment that the sport's being pulled in a lot of different directions, with World Series arm wrestling on one side of the equation, different tables, different deals, and different broadcasting arrangements. Then you got East versus West, and King of the Table running with what's become now the traditional format of pay-per-view, and not really doing much outside of that. And then you've got other promotions that are just and often the smaller ones putting all of their stuff out either on a subscription model or for free completely. Like, do you see any of those as pathways forward, or do you just feel like maybe maybe the sport's got some more maturing to do before it gets to a point where we know what the right path will be?
That's a tough question because, as you kind of allude to, it feels very much like arm wrestling is kind of in a Wild West situation as far as new leagues and ways of doing things going forward. So I think it is a very interesting question and topic. It's difficult because I think giant leagues and I call them giant within the context of arm wrestling, leagues like East versus West and King of the Table should very much lead by example, and they aren't necessarily doing that in some ways.
In what ways do you feel that they're not?
Yeah, to me, like I hear stuff, and you guys went through it with AWE. I hear stuff like contracts getting into the way of people pulling, and to me, it's as simple as that. It just shouldn't happen. Like with a sport our size and with, like you said, leagues that are this fragmented, I don't think the way forward is trying to monopolize pullers for your league. It just it doesn't work that way. There isn't enough financial incentive to go around for a lot of pullers, and it doesn't work that way. You can't grow as a sport if you do that. And of course, the biggest leagues shouldn't be doing that. They should lead by example and not just allow pullers to be kind of free agents. That's in an ideal world. That's how I would see it now. I'm not naive. I know when money is involved, contracts are involved, and people want to make as sound business decisions as they can. And I'm sure East versus West is trying to do that. I just, on a personal level, I don't really see how it benefits anyone at the end of the day.
I love arm wrestling in the same way I love golf. Like I love it as a sport. I really enjoy being involved in it and playing, for instance, or being on the table. But I just don't like watching it a lot, especially. Or are you one of these guys that quite happily sits down and consumes a 4 or 5 or 6 hour pay-per-view and love every second of it?
No. I get event fatigue, or however you want to call it, after hour 4 or 5. I'm about ready to back it up.
The arm's hanging down by this or that.
Yeah. Got a very flaccid arm by that time. Which one of us can go for 5 hours? Tell me that.
My favorite thing recently, Ryan Bowen was streaming one of their events and fell asleep.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
So good. Are there any circumstances that any sport can be entertaining over 6 hours, do you think?
Yeah.
Maybe like some form of mud wrestling. I don't know. It's hard to. No, I don't think so. I think it's an impossibility.
That's great.
Well, Hollywood Matt Connelly, somehow we're at the 20-minute mark already. Perhaps we can turn to the comments as the comments section is filling up quickly.
It is. We've got some of the usual regulars in the chat. The Drew was the first one in, as always. He said he needed to go to sleep. I think he made a mistake with his first post, and then he had to correct it. But here it is. Yeah. Whoop, I'm in close to 1 a.m. Thanks for clarification there, Drew. But always good to see you. That's me. Siren, the French McGee, who was on the show last night. She did a tremendous job. Always great to have her on the show, and she's in the chat as well as Mr. Peanut is here, of course. We love Mr. Peanut and all of his amazing knowledge. And who else have we got here? My light is sort of in the way, so I got to sort of look sideways to be able to read the comments. Mr. Peanut says, I, for one, am glad the arm historian has found work. Hand jobs are hard to come by.
Doing some community service there.
Absolutely. And the Drew says that is how he gets the professional training. Maybe that's how he won his amateur tournament recently.
Don't give away my secrets so easily to do.
Really good riser. The Drew said it would be very difficult to research Danny Tash. It would be, actually. You'd probably be getting
It's
more
an enigma.
Other people to be able to ask questions. Phil Woody is here, and he says, good morning, everyone. It is over in the UK with Phil Woody, and he says, I've been fortunate to meet the arm historian. Top dude, Fong good work.
Yeah, make it that what you will.
Sometimes. Phil Woody, great guy. I actually shared a room with him in Ireland. So apart from the snoring, really great guy.
There you go. Elbow Down is here as well. He said, Matt's really leveling up. He's finally got the talking hand on. No, you get the big time. I've got a photo here of you at your face is covered in it, so I'll bring that up.
Thanks.
It's you and Ryan, actually. So was this the first time you actually met Ryan?
Yeah. First time. Like I said, I actually made a video on him already, but I figured I might as well say hi, right?
Yeah. You can see the arm historian is a tall guy. He's a big guy.
Big guy. Look at that. Yeah. Look at that forearm.
Yeah.
You need to upgrade the image, I think, that you're using at the moment.
Yeah. It's been a year and a half or something with.
We've lost you. There we go.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's been about a year and a half since I since this form of my arm. So yeah, maybe I do need to update a little.
So that is your arm. So that what we're looking at right now is actually some part of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's my actual human form arm.
Incredible arm. So when you've have you changed your opinion on anybody as you've done these deep dives? Have you started off with a preconception of them, and through doing the research on them, come out the other side thinking something completely different about them?
Kind of. There's been Alexei Voivoda was a bit of a, I don't know, I did like a dive on kind of what he commented to his Olympic disqualifications and stuff like that. The guy is very, like, I don't want to make this political or something, but the guy is very pro-Russia, pro part of the government there. And it seems like a lot of high-level arm wrestlers coming from that region are part of the actual government there. Denis Suplenkov is. Igor Mazurenko at one point kind of was, but he isn't really from Russia, of course. But like in Poland, he kind of was. So yeah, Alexei Voivoda was part of the Russian government, pretty high up guy. So yeah, there are a couple of things like that kind of surprise me.
Is it coincidental that they just happen to be, working with the government, or do you think this is a Russian conspiracy in order to take over the world of arm wrestling, or take over the world through arm wrestling, maybe?
Um, I want
And
to
in which case,
agree
do we
very
just let them?
badly. I want to agree very badly with you here. I'm not that conspiracy brained, but yeah, maybe something to look into, right?
Well, I feel an upcoming video on the boil now. But these videos are very, very well thought out. Do you pitch a book? Actually, let me start off again. How do you get inspired to start a video on a particular individual, or is there just a list that you're working your way through?
At first, I just picked the most kind of usual suspects, so to speak, the most
Mhm.
obvious people, kind of. But then, yeah, by now I have a list of topics that I kind of choose from. There's a video that I've been working on for like a month now or something, that I'm trying to get out there desperately, but it's very hard, like tone wise. I think it's probably the most controversial kind of topic
Oh,
I've picked so far.
oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. So it is kind of difficult to find a decent tone for it where I don't like offend too many people. Maybe.
Wow.
Oh,
Maybe I'm
is this the point?
overthinking it, but
Is this the point the channel shifts maybe a year or two?
it might be. I've been pretty close to it. There was, maybe I shouldn't talk about this too much, but there was one video on a certain person within arm wrestling, a very notorious person within arm wrestling, that I kind of, how do I say this? I didn't want to go too hard on the person because I kind of started to know him, talking with him, kind of forming a semi-business relationship even. But then after I put it out, the person wasn't happy at all with the kind of video I made, so it kind of made me regret not going too hard on him
Yeah, yeah.
in the first place.
And have you and Matt spoken about this since? Because we can go over it now if you like.
It was my OnlyFans career, and he exposed it.
And it's just you doing this. For
That's
people
all
with
it is.
bicep
Yeah,
It's
pictures.
just
That's
every day you get
basically
one
it, yeah.
photo.
No, that's the controversial topic that I'm trying to put out now. Just a compilation of Matt giving bicep flexes.
I don't know how controversial
Very
that would be.
controversial.
I think you just put the word controversial in there and people will click on it.
Yeah, that's not a bad point.
So apart from maybe some of the controversial topics which we can put aside for now, what are you working on or thinking of working on that we can look forward to into the not too distant future?
I've been working on a John Brzezinski video on and off for like half a year or something now. Like whenever I find some inspiration, it's just hard to find a way to tackle something that's been covered that much before. It's hard to find like a unique angle for that.
Maybe it's links to the Russian government. Maybe you can expose that a little more.
You never know. You never know. Yeah.
Alexi
John Brzezinski.
Alexi and John are the same person, aren't they?
Well, they might be. Who knows?
Oh, I can see the caption and I can see the thumbnail right now for that one. That's
yeah.
Babies with the grown up faces.
John Brzezinski, Russian spy?
Question mark. That's all you're gonna do. Put a question mark, and you're like, I didn't say you were. I said, are you?
A big red question mark.
We'll run through the comments one more time, and then I'm going to ask you who's exciting to you right now. Who are some of the new names on the scene that have really got you thinking this is a future topic for an arm wrestling historian video? So Matt, perhaps we'll filter through the comments.
Absolutely. Elbow Down says that Vovoda travels around in a MiG-21. I do like this comment here from Mr. Peanut. The arms race, that was quite clever. And Elbow Down again. The disappearance of Danny Tesh in the works, hopefully. But he's not really. Well, I mean, he stepped away from the scene, but we know where he is. We could bring him up right now.
So, historian, who are a few of the names that are emerging that have got you excited about arm wrestling?
I might be biased here because I have like a semi-personal relationship with this person too. Again, it's hard not to be biased there. Reno Message, I very much am keeping my eye on him. I've done a video on kind of Reno Message coming up and how he first started in arm wrestling. But I haven't done like a deep dive on the last couple of years. So I'm hoping he keeps doing well, and then in a couple of years I can make a really big video on him. But that's definitely one of the people that like I'm keeping my eye on, and I think his work ethic and the way he trains is very systematic and works really well for him. So definitely like a rising star, but everyone knows that already, right?
And just finally before we go, of all the videos that you've now done, what's your personal favorite?
I actually really like that question, because there's a couple of videos that I put a ton of work in, but that did really poorly compared to some others. There's like the early history of arm wrestling, something like that. I think is the title right now. I put a ton of research into, like, because you see repeated everywhere online that arm wrestling originated in ancient Egypt and people in ancient Greece and were arm wrestling already and stuff. But the truth is, there isn't really anything online or anywhere else that I can see where there's actual sources for that. There's a couple of like kind of drawings that people made in ancient Egypt that you can kind of think is arm wrestling, but not really. So yeah, I try to debunk that myth and like go into the true origins of arm wrestling. But yeah, the people don't really. Yeah, that's a short I made on it, I think. But I also made a long form video. Yeah, that the real history. There you go. Yeah, but that's one of the topics that I really enjoyed making. But yeah, it never really took off.
I didn't know Lion-O was an arm wrestler.
Apparently, right?
Well, we're almost done here on the Arm Wrestling Tonight podcast. This is your 5 night a week, half an hour, where we bring you some of the biggest names and up and coming talent, and occasionally we'll bring you an arm poking out of a collar. And tonight that has been the Arm Historian. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to all the people in the comments. We love you. We thank you for joining us every single night. We'll be back on Monday. Hollywood Matt Connelly, any final thoughts before we go away?
Yeah, just please follow the Arm Historians channel. All of those videos, I know how much effort goes into editing videos and stuff, and I can just looking at one of those, I'm like, oh my god, that was the amount of files you would have had to go on through and get snippets and cut it all together. So please just subscribe to his channel. He has put in a ton of work, and maybe check out some of the videos there too, because you will learn a lot. They are basically little mini documentaries that come out on the channel.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys. Yeah, keep on doing what you're doing too, because what you guys are doing here, like every day putting out this podcast, crazy stuff. So yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah, we don't have any friends, so we've got plenty of time on our hands. So it's been thank you very much. The Arm Historian, ladies and gentlemen.
There he is.
Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on Monday night.